This year's Heroes Celebration, is it a hit or a miss? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we finally got every piece of the puzzle we need to put together this community discussion video on this year's Super Dragon Ball Heroes campaign. As many of you know, there's been a rather bit of big controversy on the choice of release of units for the Dragon Ball Heroes campaign. So I wanted to take some time to talk about how people are feeling about that and whether or not this was a hit or a miss. If it was a humble little batch or a big fat fumble. So I kind of did something a little different this time around. So normally we just throw the post out there and we see what people are saying and then record. But what I wanted to do this time is I actually waited about a week in between the initial reveal and the reveal of the details. And I did this intentionally. What I wanted to see with the initial post was, what were people thinking at first glance, right? What is the, when the initial reveals we saw, right? We got the animations, we got the choice of characters, right? We were already starting to see some of that negativity creep in. So I wanted to understand why. So the first question asked, right, without knowing any further details about the kits and the celebration, how are we feeling about the content and the characters to come, and what would it take to have your mind change? And then we waited a week and we asked, right, now that we have the details, how are we feeling now? What's changed? I really felt that for this community discussion, it is incredibly important to see, right, if, right, the units met people's expectations from the beginning to the end. So we're going to take a look through some of the posts on the initial posts that we did right here. So on here on Twitter, on our community post, and on the Discord. So let's start with on Twitter for the first discussion here. So for the first question, we have Jumbo Shark here. Always appreciate your responses. A tad disappointed. So again, this is the initial reveal. A tad disappointed, but not surprised. If you look at the patterns we've never gotten, Heroes Gogeta and Power of the Easy Ace is in line with every other year. You'd think it's mostly compounded by the fact that this is the last celebration. Yeah. So right there, nail on the head, right? Let's get this out of the way. I'm glad Jumbo's was the first one. We have never gotten a Gogeta for Heroes. Even I myself wanted Gogeta to come this year, right? Blue Evolution was the likely candidate, given last year we did get Super Saiyan 3 Rose. But it is worth noting that Heroes doesn't, at least for Dokkan, has never released Gogeta, which is really strange. And so I think there's a reason for that. The big reason being that Gogeta within Heroes doesn't have too many stellar forms, at least the Gogeta Blue side of things. There's just Blue Gogeta and Blue Evolution, and even then that Blue Evolution didn't happen until most recently. So it's to be understood why they may not want to go with Gogeta. Now, if they did go with a Gogeta, it's possible we could see something like Super Saiyan 4 Kaioken or Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker. But I don't think we would ever see, a Blue Evolution Heroes Gogeta and Dokkan. And now that it's over, it's definitely gone. And I say that it's just because the Super Saiyan 4 forms are a little more original, whereas Blue Goku is Blue Gogeta is just sort of a recoloring of the Gogetas we already have. So I can understand why maybe that's not the case. But with that in mind, right, not having a hype character like Gogeta and just getting a typical Blue Goku, on a normal year, this wouldn't be that bad. This would be online with like the Trunks year or some of the earlier Hero Celebration years. But for a final celebration, I could definitely see why he would be disappointed here. Mr. Tux, we'll have to see. We got to see, but the Easy A's come out. The banner will drop likely on the 11th, which is correct. We know this now. Character details come on the 5th, right? He never summons on the Easy A banner. Okay, so this is more about what he's going to do with the banners. DBC Link, all right, always love to hear it from you. Link, you think a lot will see it as a fumble because they didn't drop the units they want, but you love heroes. All right, so very nice. This is just kind of, you know, understanding that, you know, as long as you like heroes, you're going to be happy, and the possibility of part 2 LR. I'm not saying that is a guarantee now that we have seen the end of the sales date, but you know, never say never, right? But at this point, this is looking less and less likely. But I'm glad to see you don't see it as a fumble. All right, Vilify. All right, an up-and-coming Dokkan YouTuber. I've watched this guy grow for quite some time. Pretty impressive growth, if you ask me. But let's see. He's saying the lineup isn't one that screams must summon, but I'd imagine the kits will be decent. We'll get to that in a minute. Better contact. In the context of it being the send-off for heroes, it could have been better, but it's not going to be, and you're going to give an all. He's not going to give a be-all, end-all statement until it's over with. Hopefully we can leave this celebration pleasantly surprised. You think the door is open. Very good. I like the optimism here. I'm curious to see what he'll think once we look at the end here, right? Yosha, pretty happy. Actually, Heroes is supposed to be a fun thing before anniversary. He feels like just hype enough to want you to summon a little, but also save for the 10th anniversary. It's not bad either. All right. Yeah, hilarious. Definitely disappointed, but you will be summoning Pikmin Obsessed Shenron. Really excited for them. They all look really awesome. LR, Fizz, Super Saiyan 4, Gogeta. The lineup is a big minus for the characters, but hopefully they're good. All right, well, I can't wait to see how they responded to the second one. Lavender, you feel like the lack of burst mode in Red Zone seems odd considering last year and the year before, but it seems fine. You're just going to hold off on complete judgment. All right, so more talking about the content itself. Okay, got it. Yeah, I do agree. No burst mode is a little weird, but we do have a version of Red Zone now. Nope, Goku is cool and hype, yeah. So I have to throw that out there, right? When I did some polls and questions earlier about what people wanted to see, this Blue Goku was one of the most requested units that people said they wanted. So it does strike me as odd that people would then turn around and say it's disappointing. Let's look at the other ones. Let's see if there's anybody on let's see anybody on our community post that posted that we didn't cover. All right, Vilify again covered here. Okay, cool. Just wish the send-off was more hype, but maybe the devs are blindsided by the fact that this is the final year for Heroes. All right, Sword Go Crazy. Sad to see. Oh, he's talking about my top 10 that I posted along with this. Okay. Jonathan thinks that the featured list could be a little more fleshed out to throw in some of the older EZA characters or the full power limit breakers. Yeah, like I said, there's 2 open slots, so I could definitely see that. Jad Barem, honestly, you feel like they fumbled it with this one. Units, out of all the units they could have added, they somehow chose ones that people don't care about too much. I mean, this is personal opinion, of course, and like, if you don't like Blue Goku, that's cool, or even the Kid Fu, but I will say, in polls that I've done in the past, those 2 were some of the most requested ones that people wanted from the Hero Celebration. Kid Fu and the Universe Tree Goku. Of course, people want LR. Of course, people wanted the generational Kamehameha, which would have been much more hype. But, I mean, to say that people didn't want that, I don't think that that's necessarily true. The drink and the... Okay, Balboa Goku is talking about my tier list. Let's move on from there. Hey, Taiga, not a bad batch of this year's units, especially and especially the last, but not for the EZAs, right? We're going to continue to get EZAs, and that's something worth noting. You're glad Tree Goku is in Dokkan, and Zeno, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and Blue Gogeta might come as regular Dokkan Fests. That's hard to say. That would be cool, right? I mean, it's possible they could still toss them in as just crossover units later down the road. But I wouldn't hope on that. But it's possible. Never say never. Remember, we don't know what's going to happen with Divers. There's a possibility Divers could head the same route as Dragon Ball Heroes. It's just not there yet, right? Amar, yeps, it's fire. Okay, definitely don't disagree there. I'm not a fan of the picks, but I can see why people like them. Don't care about heroes from Nixon. It's only fanfic, just want the free stones for real existing characters. Again, personal opinion, I mean, it's a lot of fan service, don't get me wrong, for forms that people want, but given that the manga, portions of the manga have been drawn by existing Dragon Ball artists and Toyotaro himself, I mean, I don't know if we can really throw it out there as fanfic anymore. So I have to disagree with that statement, unfortunately. Easy A Broly talking about my tier list. Okay, yeah, okay, talking about my tier list. Okay, so good comments. All right, so that was from the community post. And lastly, we want to check in on the Discord here. So let's navigate over here to the Discord. All right, so where's that at? All right, here we go. Alright, so we have the Discord here, so let's take a look at the people who responded on Discord. I feel like we're going to see a lot of the same faces. Zapsure thinks it's a decent lineup. So again, this is our initial question of how are people feeling at the first initial reveal. Alright, should have been the first LR. Honestly, another skip from Dis. From Zapsure, you think it's a decent lineup. Not the greatest thing ever, but by no means bad. Not sure if you'll summon, though. Look forward to the new Triku time. We got to figure out a name. I'm going with Universe Triku, just for fun. Taranza thinks that it has potential to be good because of the crossover change. If we have Diver's Celebration plus Goku's animations are great. I do agree there. Goku's animations are really good. I feel like people are overhyping the celebration, seeing that 2020 and 2023 were the only fusion years where nowhere near as guaranteed as people acted. That is a good point, right? It does seem to alternate between year to fusion, so this year would make sense as not being a fusion year. But at the same time, also considering that this is likely to be the last celebration, I can understand why people wanted something a little more hype, like a Gogeta or a Vegito. Although I don't think we would get another Vegito, considering, unless they did like Kaioken Vegito or something, but that seems unlikely. But still a good choice all around. Moving on, M should have been some duos with fusions. If Heroes isn't fun, then it's just not worth it. It's not going to come back ever. Would have been used for multiple teams for fusions in the futures too. No restrictions. They get more money. Everybody happy. So, I mean, I don't agree with this. Actually, fusions makes them far more limited as opposed to more options. Actually, fusion units tend to only work on a few teams, being that, especially if it's a pre-fused character. But I doubt we would get a character who fuses on their own here, because I mean, we just barely started getting active skills in Heroes, so I doubt we were going to see that. Moving on, W, this is the last Hero celebration. That being said, it's underwhelming. Many people in years, the headliners were way more hype. That's the main issue. The Easy A's are cool, but these characters good this one time for a few months, then age out in a few months. Their limitation to on one team hurts them in the long run. This one is kind of funny because this was after they did the announcement that these characters don't need to be limited to Heroes. So I'm not entirely sure why people are still clinging to that. They aren't limited to Heroes anymore. They have some of them are limited, like Trunks, for example. It's Heroes or Time Travelers, which right now, Time Travelers is not in a good place, but it could be in the near future. We don't know. But other characters, like the two Goku and Vegeta units, they work on their respective family teams very, very well. In fact, they don't even have to be on a full family team. They just need to have a family member on the rotation, right? Meki Kabata has 0 restrictions at all, so I'm not sure where this is coming from, and we'll address where we're at. We'll see if they responded later, but obviously we know now that the release of the current units are not as restricted. Well, But to the point of the EZAs being good one time and then gone in a few months, this is true of every EZA ever. I mean, look at how far some of the EZAs that just released in the beginning of the year are compared to where they were at the beginning of the year. This is natural course of EZAs. EZAs don't usually last that long. Few exceptions, but usually not. But I do understand, again, why people feel that it is underwhelming. But when we say many years in the past, I mean, consider up until the Limit Breaker, the Super Saiyan 4 celebration, people weren't that hyped for the heroes. Even the following year, the God Trunks celebration, a lot of people, I remember a lot of negativity around that celebration, despite Trunks being as good as he was for the release. Tarzana, potential part 2 LR, well, we know that's out the window. Archstriker, it's fine, definitely wasn't what we expected for the last hero celebration of Dokkan, but other than that, first impressions when it comes to unit choice is fine. Content-wise, seems interesting how it will fare with the meta deck. Considering how DB Hero Celebration works, if the content we get will even be there by the end of the celebration. Hopefully these fights are regular boss fights and not pure gimmicks. He's talking about the new celebration, so we still don't know what that fight's going to be like right now, by the way. We won't know until it releases tomorrow. Old school gamer Mega Fumble doesn't explain though. I did try to ask him to say, let's see if it explains down here. Okay, here we go. So they fumbled hard for the last celebration. They didn't bother making the first LR, even at least free to play. If we get Yamcha's girlfriend, what a sad way to end for a final free to play. What a great final free to play could be note from the female protagonist of Dragon Ball Heroes. See, now that point I don't disagree with, right? We have beat the strange that we didn't get note yet, so I'll give him that. But I mean, Yamcha's girlfriend, not a bad deal either. Alongside beat the male protagonist of Dragon Ball Heroes. You're okay with Blue Goku and Dogi Dogi absorbed Fu, but you expected Limit Breaker for Gogeta or Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Gogeta, but instead we got Goku, Eos, he means Bardock. We got Eos and Meki Kabata, Demigra, and not what people would like to see for the final banner. Also, no representation to okay, yeah, I don't understand why they didn't do her either. But so I mean, I understand why people feel like this is a fumble due to the character choice, but the LR thing, the LR still was a long shot, and I don't think they're ever going to, at this point we know for now, never going to do a Heroes LR. Dot got a good lineup. Benny says they've got a month, so there could be more. Ichigo, right? This is actually hype for me, knowing the majority wanted Gogeta, but this is good too, right? Ichigo is one of the people I know that had actually wanted Universe Triku. All right, he just wants the unit not be restricted to Dragon Ball Heroes. Okay, very nice. Headliner is great animations. Hopefully he is like Limit Breaker Vegito, but not restricted to Dragon Ball Heroes. We could have had Blue Gogeta evolve Limit Breaker 4, but heck, even Kaioken Blue Vegeta. So just kind of knocking on the character choice, so that's fine. The last arc of Dragon Ball Heroes with Fu in it, the character arc, which you'll never see, the generational Kamehameha. Yeah, this is a good point. I feel like this would have been a good send-off. I do agree with the people thinking we could have gotten generational Kamehameha. If we were going to get a fusion unit, this would have definitely been a really good choice. Kaliman for the last celebration would be a normal hero celebration. You would have been hyped for Tree Goku, but this is the last hero celebration, so it's a shame we didn't get a unit. It's more hype than Uni Tree Goku. Seriously, we have to finish heroes with this. Who thought this would be a good idea for the last celebration? Everything else is good. The Easy 8 choices are phenomenal. Side banner units are good, but the headliners, in my opinion, the headliners should have been should be the side units instead of Eos and Demigra, and the main headliners should have been either Generation Trio, Evolution Blue, Gogeta. Yeah, again, a lot of people really wanted the Gogetas, which, as much as I would love it, I don't think that I still don't think that it was ever gonna happen. I wanted it, but I don't think it was gonna happen. And again, a few people have pointed out about the fusion thing. I do think Generation Trio could have been a good choice, but we don't have a Joint Forces Heroes unit either, so that's tough. Alright, so that brings us to our second half of the video. So hopefully you guys stuck around this far. So we're going to check back in with all of these people. Where are they now? We've got the unit details. We found out what they're doing. So what are they thinking now that we've got all of this? So let's check out the Discord since we're here. What are people saying here? So we pose the question. Now that we've seen the details, now that we've seen the animations, we know what these guys are doing. What are we thinking? Has our minds changed? So old school gamer, unit wise, if it wasn't the last celebration, it's a good one. All right, it's disappointing that it's not. So sticking with the no Gogeta thing, so just disappointing with the choices of releases. Hopefully there's still going to be a part 2. People are saying they might pull a beast and make it part 2 and give us an LR. Who knows? I still don't think Note is a possibility. If we do, that might be an extra free-to-play character, but I don't think she's going to be an LR. But all right, at least staying consistent in the not liking the unit choice. Heart Striker seems fine in theory, while with a great chance to guard packed by default, it can be quite concerning when not achieving the key sphere requirement. His key orb changing in theory should be reliable, but as all things we don't truly know until we get with the unit. So good point. All right, but at least he's liking the unit, so that's good. Tarzana, definitely underwhelming. Goku again, Demigra looks solid. Fu looks too restricted. All right, so minds are not really changing, it seems. A lot of people seem to be still underwhelmed by the characters so far. All right, Bardock is far too underwhelming for a hype character, and the EZAs are decent. You don't really have thoughts on Eos, but you can see. But seeing that they said they'll return soon means that either they'll be added to the general pool or a part 2. So keeping hopes up, but not high. So at least well, what did Tarzana say earlier? Let's come back here. Or Taranza, right? All right. Okay, so initially felt that potential was good, but a bit underwhelming in some of the kits. Fair enough. Okay. Heart Striker, give the voices on JP. Well, guess what? They did. They're doing it for everyone, including Vegito and Heart. So they're finally going to be voiced as well. So I did want to throw that out there. Kellyman coming back. Only 2 units do you think are good? Goku only if he has Zeno Ally or 3 crossover. And Demigra is decent. 400k defense and 80% damage reduction before attacking is decent-ish. But 800k defense is 60% damage reduction is not enough after attacking the other 3. All right, so I want to point out here that this is, right, talking about Demigra. He's on the level of Frieza when we're talking about the defense. So, I mean, if people are going to nag on Demigra, we definitely should have been having a bigger problem with full power Frieza, which I don't remember people having a big problem with. So, I'm just throwing that out here. This is referring to Goku, but this is like Goku's minimum, the 800k defense, 60% reduction, right? I don't understand why people... that's like the bare minimum. He's going to have a lot more. Fu is heavily restricted to 2 teams. You can't even use him elsewhere, and even win his restriction on that 2 teams. Why isn't he a main headliner? Yeah, this is a good point. There's only 1 main headliner this year. I'm not really sure why. And yeah, Fu is a bit more restricted than the others, but it's not that bad. Bardock, just lowercase, so really not liking the Bardock. Is only good at the end of the fight. Yeah, I do agree with that because he's got to get that final blow mechanic active, right? But I don't think he's he's worse than the others, but he's not that bad. Eos, dodge or die unit with 50% dodge. I don't think that that's true. Her defense numbers were much higher than dodge or die unit, so I'm not sure where this is coming from. She's well into the millions for her defense, so I'm not sure where this is coming from. And all of these units have worse stats than an unawakened SSR unit, so the team will have 508k HP at most. Well, I mean, this was always true for heroes, but that's not to say that their stats are bad. When you consider their multiplicative bonuses and all of their percentage bonuses, it's not that bad. I think he's looking at the SSR or the UR stats that they show when they show the characters, that's them 55% with, or not even 55%, that's them with 0%, right? So that's their minimum stats. And obviously the HP thing is always going to be the case for heroes units, but the nice thing is a lot of these units aren't restricted to teams that are going to keep their HP that low, so it's not it's not that big of a deal. Yamcha here saying that he should have been STR, but outside of that, you don't know. Not that bad. All right, and mostly just because Slug was STR already. Okay, that's fine. Let's see, moving on. Ichigo. Personally, the batch is really good. You're glad the final batch we have is great, unlike 2022. Goku, Demigra, Eos, great kit-wise, really strong. All right, so not much changes. Ichigo here seems pretty happy from beginning to end, so very, very nice there. Near perfect picks from Sleepy, very nice. Okay, excellent. So, all right, not much changes here. Looks like most people are sticking with what they said before. The people who did, and this is important. All right, the people who right, this is why I wanted to do the video, right? So almost everyone who said units they were going to like the units beforehand, right, ended up saying the same thing. It ended up either saying the same thing or finding reasons that to not like the units once the kits were revealed. So nothing against those people. I just want to point. This is something I want to point out because it happens every year with heroes. So with that, let's shift over to the let's actually shift over to the community posts here. So let's shift over to this is the last one. Here it is. So this is the new one. So I want to see who's responded, right? And if any of the people from before have changed. So Jonathan, very awesome stuff. Love the design of the new Demigra. Really hoping. And let's see, what did Jonathan say before? Really cool. A little more focused on what's going to be featured, but was happy before. All right. Jahid, his leader skill is good, but wish he led a realm of gods. I can understand that, but leading power beyond Super Saiyans actually probably works out better for him because it accesses not only the Realm of God characters, but other characters as well. And Balboa Goku, really love how cool Goku is, but wanted more in this celebration. I can really understand that. And I don't believe either one of them commented on the units themselves last time. Abzu already spent 500 stones to get all the units from the EZA banners. Why not spend more? Okay, so sounds like he's excited to summon. Norbert, Unitary Goku might be the least hype heroes units ever. Oh look, recolored Super Saiyan, but now he's even shining there. Well, again, this is definitely a matter of opinion. Again, I have in every year that I've asked what do people want from heroes, Universe Tree Goku is probably aside from like Gogeta and Vegito units, Universe Tree Goku has been one of the most requested units people have made for me. So, you know, it's definitely a matter of opinion. If you find it lame, you find it lame, and I get that, right? I understand that, but I'm going to hold on to that thought for a minute. Penny Girl, all right, you feel like the celebration is the definition of not good enough, but as a free-to-play, you're putting all 2,000. I love that stuff. It's not good enough. I'm still summoning, though. That's great. I love it. They're good enough for me. Although I wish Goku was God tier at least. People need to keep in mind that Heroes is the one banner you can't get shafted on, right? That's a great point. You can't get shafted on Heroes. Guaranteed featured, right? All right. True UI, Goku shouldn't have been an SDR. Okay, this is Yamcha, that's right. Oh, okay, so he made his comment already. Arturo Cortez, do they come out early on the 11th? Yep, so I will have a video. I put out the video already on that. Yes, they do come out on the 11th. The E-like, they'll get them all. You'll get them all with 2 dupes like you do every year, but not really hyped about it. The best one is Demigra. The character choices are terrible. No kit in the world would make me want these units. I'm basically just summoning out of obligation, and I hate that the final celebration feels that way. So, this screams to me like a person who only wanted Vegito or Gogeta. Like, nothing was going to change. And this right here, this is a sentiment, and I've been hollowing this sentiment for a while. No kit in the world would make you want these units. There was nothing, if it wasn't Gogeta or Vegito, there is nothing that would make these kits that people like them, right? Because when you actually break down the kits for Goku, for Demigra, for Eos, and for Fu, you find that they're actually pretty good. They are meta relevant. They can be used in the current content. So what that tells me is exactly what he's saying here, right? There was nothing these guys could have done to make people like these units. So these initial posts that we saw, right, really talking down about these units, I don't think anything was going to change their mind. And that's why I felt it was really important for this discussion to throw in what the initial impressions are, to where they're at once the details are revealed, right? Because you're going to see a lot of the same sentiment. And then Jose ultra skipped, right? So again, this is a really important one. Nothing was going to make them like these units. So that is unfortunate, because again, Triku and Fu were some of the most requested units for me every time I've done this post. So let's take a look here back to Twitter. Let's see. So Bardock being a meme at this point, I mean, he's not wrong. As much as, like I said, he's not terrible, but he's definitely the worst of the bunch, and it seems to be par the course for Bardock type units. Jumbo Shark, not good enough, especially for the last batch, right? So again, no change. Remember, Jumbo Shark said basically the same thing in his initial post. All right, Mr. Tux, most units are not bad. The Goku is pretty good. We believe they're coming out tomorrow. Yes, they are coming out tomorrow. Again, so Mr. Tux saying the same thing as before. Heart could have been more hype, yes, but you're glad. Wanted, hey, good friend of the channel, was able to comment. I do appreciate that. So what is Wanted saying here? Alright, Goku is cool, Fu is good, Eos is probably the favorite design unit of the bunch, minus Pan. The character choices should have been more hype, the designs could have been better, but most likely they will age out by the end of Annie. Right, this last part here, this is, well, hold on, let's see what he's saying here. They will be fun units, as all Dragon Ball units are. You're glad that JP Voices will finally be coming to global. Most hype celebration was 2022, and shame that the service is coming to an end, but glad we got a bunch of fun and cool units. Yeah, so see, this is a great point. All right, and you know what, Wanted makes a lot of good points here, right? The designs will most likely age out by Annie. This is true every year of every Heroes. Just the nature of Heroes and them being collaboration units. But for the time that they're there, they can be good. And with the advent of special boosts per month, and hopefully this is something they continue to do, right, along with more Heroes getting easy A's throughout the years, because it's probably not going to happen just in November from now on. I could definitely see them just sprinkling them in whenever they would fit. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was in previous years. And, you know, on another note of 10th anniversary shift, while there may be a meta shift, I don't think it's going to be nearly as significant as people are thinking. Because if we look at the current units, the most defensive units in the game, right? Units like Beast Gohan, units like Broly, units like Janemba and Gogeta, like what it's going to take to age those units at 10th anniversary, which is usually what happens with these type of units, would basically reset the entire game. So I'm kind of thinking we might not have a big issue even with Heroes this time. Yeah, moving on, I like that he points out that his most hype celebration was 2022, and Limit Breaker for Vegito. So 2022 was the Goku and Vegeta Limit Breakers, which, by the way, people hated. People hated those cards. Before their announcement was even released, people automatically were dogging on them, like in the same way they were doing here with Triku. Like, people just refused to accept that they were good, right, for their release. Upon their release, they could clear Broly, they could clear Metal Cooler Core, they could clear Cellmax. In fact, we have the first ever Cellmax clear with the Limit Breaker Force team on this channel, right? We were the first person to upload that clear, no items at that. And right, people still insisted that they weren't good enough. People hated that year. Even before the units released, people were already saying they were going to be terrible, right? So I like that he points out that he actually did enjoy those units, right? And that's what it is. If you enjoy the heroes units, you're going to enjoy the units no matter how good or bad they are. But if you don't, like some of the other posts we've seen already, you're going to be looking for reasons to put them down, right? You could look at all of the things that the original limit breakers weren't doing and say that they aren't good enough based on that, which is what people were doing. But if you're not looking for those negative things, right, and you look at what they can do, you actually find units that are actually good enough, right? So I think that was a really important note to make. Shadow, all right, haven't heard from Shadow in a while. Glad he was able to comment. You mentioned this before, but it feels so bland. Like they went with the same formula as the last batch of hero units, 10 new featured units, DFE stats, and LR, something more than what they gave us. It just feels so meh when it should have been explosive. I mean, I agree, but I mean, Heroes itself didn't really go out with a bang either, right? It kind of just faded away. I mean, they did have the special sort of manga closing out, but even then, it's not like it was really that big of a thing. They just kind of did it and then rolled into Divers with almost zero transition. So, I mean, when the Heroes itself didn't do anything major, I don't know that we can expect Dokkan to do it either. Chow, as always, you like the units they introduced with Heroes. You feel like they're lacking compared to the last year. Demigirl and Fu are good. Goku has a great kit, but 55% stats are going to hinder it. I do agree with that. They are definitely dupe dependent. Eos is decent support for this team, which you're glad about. You're not going to comment on the Bardock. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Bardock is Bardock. That's all we can say. I am based. Here we go. Goku is good. Demigirl is good. Eos is wonky, but can work. Fu is really solid. FRNG goes your way. Or people really hating on that Bardock, man. Overall decent, but they didn't strike me the same way last year did with Vegito and Goku Black. I mean, but it's never going to, and that's the thing. It's like no characters are ever going to be as hype as Vegito or Gogeta, right? So I don't understand why people want to keep making that comparison. Angel, unit-wise, if it wasn't the... Yeah, so he already mentioned this in the Discord. Lavender back again. All right, kits are great. Bardock got shafted, and the HP pools should overall be higher, but you enjoy the fact that you can run them on different teams, Slug's team especially, being massively buffed by the Extreme team. So I think they're really pushing people to use these units outside of the strictly Heroes team. Of course, you can do that for challenges. But they're really pushing these units to be used off. Use the demons on Slug's team, and you've got a solid team with enough HP to deal with whatever comes your way. Use Goku on you can use Goku on another team if you want to toss some crossovers, or you can use Goku as your lead and only need 2 crossovers, and then have UI, the trio, and a few other really powerful units to increase that HP total, as well as provide some amazing support. And now you've got you've got a workable unit, right? You've got some good stuff going on there. So I definitely think I definitely think the HP thing is not going to be as big as people think when you consider that you aren't limited to Heroes anymore with these guys. So I like that Lavender points that out. So awesome. Pikmin Obsessed Shenron all look like incredibly fun units, and to them, fun is the most important factor. It is a video game. Being fun is better than being the best. That's true. A lot of people think every new unit needs to be the best unit, and I don't think that that's true. AGL Vegeta is a great example of that for me. He's an incredibly fun unit. I love using the Namek Saga team with all of the buffs that it received over the course of that month. Are they the best team? Nah, not at all. Are they even like, I mean, heck, I probably wouldn't even put them in the top 5 teams, but they are a fun team, and I think that's what it's about, right? So again, if you weren't prepared to have fun with the Heroes, you're noticing a pattern here. A lot of the people who weren't prepared to have fun with the Heroes in the beginning, at the initial reveal, nothing changed for them upon the reveal, even despite that the units are actually good and fun. Angel, once again, give us an LR on no. Okay, so Kellyman reporting the same thing that we already went over in the Discord. Okay, so I think that hits just about everybody. I did want to make sure I did want to make sure that I hit everybody here before we go into the big reveal. Well, maybe not reveal, but you guys know I like to reach out to some of the other major Dokkan tubers, and fortunately for us, Ningen was able to respond to our query along with Vilify and Wanted, as you guys saw. But I'm really happy Ningen was able to respond because, of course, you know, we all know Ningen loves those heroes. He started the hashtag heroes agenda, and we love him for it. But Ningen over here says that he was excited when the lineup revealed. He was a little bit disappointed. He was expecting some of the unit choices, definitely something a bit more hype, like a Gogeta, right? So a lot of people were expecting that, again, myself included, right? But you do think the lineup makes sense if they planned it before, knowing it was the last one, and chances are it was too late to change. That's a good point, right? I didn't even consider that. They told us years ago that, you know, before the 9th anniversary, or before the 8th anniversary actually, that they've had everything out to year 10 already planned. So that means they planned Universe Tree Goku already before knowing it was going to be the last one. That's a really great, I kind of wish I led with this now. I was saving Ningen for the end. I kind of wish I led with this now. I put them up front in the last one. I thought it was important to do them at the end. This one to hear the community voices first. But that is an excellent point. I didn't even consider that. They probably had this planned for a while now. Interesting. Okay, now that we have the details, he's a bit more excited to summon. Not all are winners, but they seem solid for the most part. Demigrass seems great for the Slug team, right? See, this is what I keep saying. Like, Demigrass is awesome. And as expected, Goku seems very strong. Fu and AO seem decent, but Bardock is iffy. It's still odd that there's only 5 new units, and despite wanting to cope for Heroes fan, as a Heroes fan, you don't think that they're part 2 LR. Yeah, I think the chances of there being an LR are getting slimmer and slimmer as the days go by, unfortunately. And he's looking forward to getting them all and going through content. As am I, Ningen, as am I. You know, we will be beating every stage with the teams that we can with them because we do enjoy ourselves some Heroes units, right? We got to keep that Heroes agenda strong. But I really appreciate Ningen's response. So Ningen is one of the few people I hear that I've seen here. Disappointed in the end, but by the time the details revealed, he was a bit more optimistic, and I like that. And I like that he notes that it's possible that this was planned long before they knew that the service was gonna end. I think that that's really I think that was really a great thing to add. So guys, that is pretty much it for all of the responses. So to offer my final response to close out this video, I agree that maybe the unit choices are not the best. I personally am not a fan of Universe Tree Goku, but I can understand why people like him, but at the same time, I understand why people don't. But I will say he was one of the most requested units every time I've done the poll on what units they should add. Me personally, I would have liked to have seen more limit breakers. I'm a Super Saiyan 4 fan myself, so I would have loved to see Kaioken Gogeta or Blue Super Saiyan limit breaker Gogeta. I would have liked to see that, but I understand now, thinking about what Ningen said, this was probably planned long in advance. So personally, I'm not a fan of the choices, but I do think the units are good. So just because not a fan of the choice doesn't mean I can't recognize the value here. There's insane value. Goku is good, Fu is good, Demigra is good. Really excited here to test out all of these units. And again, I did the video the way I did here because I wanted to see the juxtaposition between initial reactions and unit reveals. And as I expected, opinions didn't change, which to me says that there wasn't much, and quite a few people even noted this, there wasn't anything these characters were going to do that was going to change their mind. It didn't matter how good they were. People were prepared to hate before it even started, because that's how it goes every year with heroes. Even with Vegito last year, the moment he was revealed, people were like, so what? Why are they wasting a Vegito? He's gonna suck. And then he ended up not sucking, and most of the people who said that still downplayed him. There were very few people who changed their mind on Vegito, even though it was near undeniable that he was close to #1 by the end of the year. So kind of crazy that that's where we're at. But I mean, 'tis heroes every year. So guys, that is it for our video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you participated in the community discussion, thank you so much. I always enjoy these. I'm trying to do more of these. This one took a little bit longer to put together because, like I said, I really wanted to push those two ends here, and it did work out. But we will definitely try to do more and more often. Why don't you give us in the comments a topic that you guys want to hear us do a community discussion on next time? And shout out to Ningen for giving us a great little piece of information there and giving us the response. Really appreciate it. And to Wanted and Vilify as well. Really looking forward to continuing to discuss and work with you guys in the future. Otherwise, guys, that's it for the video. If nothing else, thanks for watching, and aloha.